But I think it's fascinating. Do any of you use Facebook for your businesses? Do you use? Yeah. We've got quite a lot using Facebook for your businesses. And Facebook has a different demographic to Twitter. But what I found really interesting using Facebook for my own business is that they've completely changed the way things are working. And one small example of that, did you know that in Facebook, you know at the top you get your messages and you have your inbox? Did you know there was an other box? I didn't. I had no idea. And there was all sorts of people that were contacting me through they got sent to the other box. One of them was my friend who lived in the same town as me, but we just never connected on Facebook. And there was a message from her in there. And I went on there and I said, well, okay, I'll just send her a message back and we'll connect. And Facebook tried to charge me money to send a message to someone that I wasn't friends with. But I knew her, so I had to go through this, and they've done this pain in the neck thing now. Maybe I've got too many friends on Facebook, but I find it difficult to make new friends. They tell me to follow people, or people have to follow me. So we actually struggled to connect on Facebook and send messages. And Facebook is changing, and they're going through this way of monetizing things. And what's interesting is, let's say on your page you have 100 likes, for argument's sake. You've got your business page. Your posts that you post to that page will only show up to somewhere between 6 to 12% of your likes unless you pay for it. So everything you put out, unless you're paying for it, not very many people are seeing. So you can put a lot of effort into Facebook. Unless you pay, it's not going to get you very far. Which is one of the reasons why I think Twitter's so important, is because it is still free to use to connect with people. For now. For now, which is interesting.
Demographics, you said obviously it's different to Facebook, but what are the general demographics of Twitter?
I'd have to look those up for you.
Sorry.
That's okay. It is slightly different. I've always seen it as if you had LinkedIn over here as the businessy side, and you had Facebook over here as the sort of friendsy side, then you've got Twitter somewhere in between. That's kind of how I imagine it in my mind. Because there's people doing business and there's people doing friend stuff and there's celebrities and there's a bit of everything going on there. But what's interesting and what I've noticed, so one of my businesses is called the Pop-Up Business School. And I get paid by housing associations to go round and help people to start small businesses. And the thing that I always notice when people start a small business is the first thing they do is they go onto social media, and what do you think they do on social media? They go sell. They go, I have a product, and they go, here, buy now. You can buy it now. And they're really excited because they've started their business. But as Thomas said, if you went to a networking session, maybe you went to a 4N or a BNI or one of the Surrey networking sessions, and you walked into this networking session, sorry, what was your business? Farnham?
I teach Pilates, I run classes.
Cool. Excellent. So you teach Pilates. So if you went into the networking room and go, I teach Pilates, would you like to come? I teach Pilates, would you like to come? I teach Pilates, would you like to come? And you went round the room, you'd have no friends within about 5 minutes. No one would want to talk to you. But yet that's what small business does when they start on these platforms, is they shout about what they do. Then what's interesting is they go through a sort of evolution and a bit of learning. Then they come onto this thing called content marketing, which I'm sure you've all heard of, the comment content is king. And they get to the content marketing and they create some content. So maybe they have the 5 ways Pilates will make your life better. And they start to push this out constantly, push it out. So if you go back to the networking analogy, what they're kind of doing is going, 5 ways Pilates will make your life better. 5 ways Pilates will make your life better. 5 ways Pilates will make your life better. And they go round the room shouting this at people, which is better than saying buy now, because someone might actually go, that's interesting, give me a copy. It's better, but it's still just broadcasting. It's still just sending stuff out there. And that sending stuff out there only connects so much. And I think what Thomas and some of the others were alluding to, which is so important, is actually if you go to the third stage of evolution, you get to the communication stage, whereby you join the conversation. And that's the most interesting bit for me, is joining the conversation. And when I learnt this a few years ago, I started to join conversations on Twitter and talk to people. And one of the incidents was, and I'm going to show you how, that one single tweet about coffee ended up in a £14,000 contract for me. And I'd like to show you exactly how that happened, if that's okay, and then how you can repeat that for your business to find customers like I did.
Well, no, I assume this is a bit more interactive and we can ask questions?
No.
No, none at all?
You're wrong. Of course.
Am I right? So I have a company Twitter page, and that's very much broadcast because it's company news.
Yes.
Press releases. Would you, just to that point, would you recommend company page broadcast and have a personal page chat, or would you just say just chat? You know, use your company to chat through the conversation.
The question is, should your company talk to people? Can you imagine my answer? Yes, your company should talk to people. The £14,000 contract I'm talking about, I won from my business account. Right. So I have @Donegan and I have @Pop-Up Business. And it was the @Pop-Up Business one that won this particular contract by talking to someone about coffee. And an interesting example of what you're saying, do any of you know the Eat Cafes? Yeah. I was in the Eat Cafes, and you know they normally do these things in the cafes, like tweet us what you're eating or whatever, and the business never replies, and you never hear anything back of it. I tweeted Eat Cafe 2 days ago when I was in Heathrow and said, I'm having one of your soups, and I took a picture of myself with the soup, and they replied, thank you for your super selfie. Oh. And they started talking to me. And over the last 3 days, Eat Cafe, the business, has been chatting to me. Do you think that's made me want to go back? Yeah. Definitely. I went in to eat on the return leg of my journey in Edinburgh yesterday and had a soup there, and we've been talking about it. I've been talking, why aren't you coming to Basingstoke? And we've been having a really good chat with the cafe itself. So if I show you that, we've actually got, I love the fact we have internet now. The Wi-Fi should actually work. Deep breath, pause for effect. The connection is limited.
Do you recommend having a company and a personal account just to give personality to the, or will one company account suffice? Because for most small businesses, to drive chat through Twitter on a company page is an ask, but to do it different ways from different accounts is multiplying that ask. So
I think it's good to have one for you, because if you go back to the fundamentals of sales, people buy from people they like, know and trust. They buy from people, and you like to know who's behind that company facade. And actually, it's easier sometimes if it's, we know it's whoever it is. We know it's Phil. I'll talk to Phil. Zoo Media, who the hell's behind that? What are they doing? And how do I connect with that? So I would recommend having both, yes. So you can see here, eat, you can't see here. You can see nothing. You'll be able to see there in a second. There you go. Eat have been tweeting me. There's Eat saying they're definitely coming to Basingstoke for a full guided tour, which I've offered them. It is amazing, Stoke. Here's Eat Surrey that I was talking to last night.
I made a Twitter error last night.
Made a Twitter error. Don't tweet whilst you're tired, I think was our learning.
But we've made up now, haven't we?
Yeah, we're still friends. It's okay. But here we go. There's Eat, and they've been tweeting me. So the brand is connecting with me. And if the brand connects with me, I suddenly feel like they're nice people. They make a joke, we have a chat, I suddenly feel like I should go back to there. So based on your question, yes, you should talk to your customers, and you really should have chat, conversation, as well as 5 tips. Buy this, do this.
Can I just say, I
I actually, for a different coffee company, got offered free coffee because I was talking about coffee on Twitter and we started up a conversation.
That's very cool. And you never know the good stuff that comes from this. You never know it. Yeah, let's talk about Virgin Holidays. So I was searching online for people in housing one day, as you do, because that's my major market for the pop-up business school is housing associations. And I came across this lady, Andrea Baker, and it says in her bio, Director of Housing. That's how I found her. It showed up with Director of Housing. And there she is, there's her bio. It says Poplar Harkers, which is a housing association, Director of Housing, quite enjoys a coffee. When I read quite enjoys a coffee, what do you think I said?
Have coffee.
I wasn't that forward because that might come across as creepy, Phil. I didn't go straight in with come for coffee with me.
What coffee do you like?
Yeah. I tried something a bit different. I actually said I love coffee too, and I sent her a picture of me drinking a coffee, which was a fresh Costa Rican coffee. And 5 minutes went past, and she then replied, said, just read your website. Sounds really interesting. You should come in. Call me tomorrow. So guess what I did in the morning? Called her on the phone. We had a brilliant chat, and she said, if you bring the coffee, I will get the directors of the Housing Association round a boardroom table and we'll have a chat about what we can do. I went up a week and a half later. I took a bag of Costa Rican coffee, which she brewed. We had our chat, and by the end of the meeting, we'd done a deal for a £14,000 contract. It came from one tweet about coffee, and we connected. We connected on something. But here's the interesting part to that. So let's say we are looking at housing and we're going to expand to looking at different stuff. Here's Sentinel Housing Association. They are a housing association in Basingstoke. Would I tweet directly their business account?
No.
Why wouldn't I tweet Sentinel Housing Association's business account? Who runs companies' business accounts?
Could be outsourced, could be anybody.
It could be outsourced. It could be marketing. It's probably marketing, maybe some comsy type person for this type of organisation. Are the comsy and marketing type people probably going to be interested in what I'm doing? No, it's nothing to do with their day job. So I don't want to speak to the housing association, I want to speak to the people who work for it. So when you're selling your products, you don't want to sell them to the company, you want to sell them to the people who work for the company, based on speak to the people. So actually, I want to find people who work for Sentinel Housing Association. And with a bit of searching, we could probably do that. I'd type in Sentinel, I'd type in housing, and I'd see who comes up. And then I would talk directly to them. So, and that's what I found with Andrew.
And you always, so you search for people to engage via their activity on Twitter rather than going to LinkedIn, for example, finding a decision maker and seeing if they're on Twitter.
That's another great route, is to search for a decision maker and then find them on Twitter. That's a fantastic route.
Because currently not everybody in these organisations actually see the value of Twitter, do they? So you might be missing the point if you just stay on Twitter, is that right?
Twitter is one communication method.
It's just one of
The phone is another communication method. Email is another. LinkedIn is another. They're all a plethora of tools. But you're absolutely right. If you just did Twitter, you're missing out on phone calls, you're missing out on LinkedIn and other stuff. And you can actually use LinkedIn to find people that you might want to talk to. However, I would say that Twitter is very powerful. And the reason it's very powerful is it is still free to contact anyone. So if you want to contact the director of whatever business, or you want to contact the person who's in charge of the health and well-being programme for a particular housing association or a particular company and talk to them about Pilates and the benefits on reducing their staff, what's the word I'm looking for?
Stress. Backaches.
Those are the words I'm looking for, yes. And possibly even their absentees.
Yeah.
So they'll have less absentees if they engage with your services. You can find those people. And we can just reach out to them and talk to them and say, I like coffee too, based on their bio or whatever it is. But if you get a random message from someone, say you randomly got a message from me, who's got a Twitter account? We can have a quick... What's your Twitter handle?
Bang Consulting.
Sorry?
Bang Consulting.
Bang Consulting, not Nang, Bang. Bang Consulting. There you are, Nikki Parker. So if we had a look at Bang Consulting with Nikki, and you can see how quick the internet is here. It's lightning. 20 years SME experience, marketing solutions for ambitious businesses, passionate about ballroom, Latin dancing, baking cakes, great service and dogs. That's really good because it actually gives us lots to talk about, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And if I'm not into dogs, it's okay, I'm into cakes. But if I'm not into cakes, it's okay, I can talk about dancing. And that's actually really good because it gives us something to talk about. So let's say Nikki had no idea who I was, and I said, hi,
Baking dogs.
Nikki, baking dogs. Yeah. How are you?
Slightly creepy.
I love baking cakes too.
Get noticed.
You'd remember me though, wouldn't
Yeah. I have had tweets from people that have said, thanks for connecting, please talk to me more, and I found that a bit weird.
So if I send this
Right.
weird message to Nikki,
She's not going to reply because she has the same internet problem she did.
Nikki doesn't have a clue who I am to say. What's the first thing Nikki's going to think when she gets this message from the weirdo saying, I like cakes too? What's she going to think? And then what she's going to think?
Let's go and have a look at his profile.
Yeah.
She's going to think, who the is Alan Donegan? And when she thinks that, what will she do? She will click on the profile.
Or ignore.
Or ignore. And there's a chance she might ignore. You're exactly right, there's a chance she might ignore. Depending on how busy her day is, what's going on in her life, there's a chance she might ignore. What I've tended to find is people will then click on your thing and look at your profile and go, who the hell is it? Here's the interesting bit, and this is what happened with Andrea Baker at Poplar Harker, is she went, who the hell is this guy? She clicked on my profile, which at the time was for Pop-Up Business School, which I'll show you in a bit. And mine says, co-founder of Pop-Up Business School, helping people make money and start up businesses, pizza lover, PowerPoint fan, speaker, presenter and radio show host. And at the time she looked at my bio and it said, we work with housing associations to help their residents start small businesses and make money doing what they love. Then she went, oh, that sounds interesting. And she clicked on the link here. And she went to my website. She had to look at my website and went, that's interesting, I'll tweet him back and talk to him. But that is how I created that connection, by talking to her. So for me, the thing you've got to do is join the conversation about whatever the person is talking about, and then they will go, who is this person? And probably check you out. And if they're interested in what you're doing, they'll find out more. If they're not, they won't. But it's the quickest way to get in touch with people who might be interested in your business. So if we were to have a look at different ways to do this.
From a psychology point of view, it's interesting that it was only women that said, that's a bit creepy. Because I don't think it was what you'd written, maybe because I'm a guy and maybe we're on the same wavelength, but I don't think that what you wrote was a creepy thing. I'd be more intrigued.
No, I didn't either.
But there were a lot of ladies' voices that went, oh yeah, we don't. And I don't know whether everyone was just being tongue-in-cheek and having a bit of a laugh.
I think that's probably because I said I was a weirdo and everyone else agreed, which is fair enough, really. So I started that rumour. But yeah, you'll get messages from different people sometimes, and I actually don't get that many of them to my account. But I send lots of messages to other people saying, oh, what do you think about this, or what's going on? I think we spoke yesterday about what good restaurants there are in Guildford for breakfast. I love breakfast.
Because I've had, I don't want to sort of like deviate too much, but I've had a few instances where, though I've sort of connected with someone, and then the next thing is, what are you doing later, but not in a pervy way, but it's just a bit, because they basically want to sell me something at the end of the day, and they want me to go along to their talk. Is that like, how do you, I mean, is that really dodgy, or is that just being friendly?
Everyone's trying to sell something.
Yeah,
So-
I just found it really off-putting when suddenly you get this person going, what are you doing tonight? Would you like to come as my guest to this thing?
What are you doing tonight? Yeah. That's a little bit forward. And I think what was interesting is what Thomas was saying earlier about you don't actually have to sell in some ways. What Thomas was saying, you have to talk to people. You have to talk to people. And if you talk to people and are interested in them, if you show interest, what will people normally do in return? They normally show interest back. If they're not going to show interest back, there's no point bothering about them anyway, because they're all in it for themselves. If they show interest back, they'll start to be interested in what you're doing. And when they're interested in what you're doing, then the door is open to say, I do this. But only when they're interested. If you do it first, I don't know, if you go to a networking session, you actually go to a physical networking session, there's some people at the networking sessions who will always start with kind of, you know, you have this sort of dance, hello, how are you, tell me what do you do and what do you do, and they'll start with what their business does and they'll try and qualify you as a client and immediately, and they're always looking to sell immediately. How connected to that person do you feel, and how much do you want to do business with them? Not very much when it's at the start. Then there's a completely different type of person who will ask you questions about you. So tell me about your business. What do you do? How do you do? They'll be really interested in you. And after about 15 minutes, you'll go, oh, I should be interested in them, really. Tell me what you do. But you've had to show the interest first for that to happen. So that psychology of who you actually want to talk to in real life is exactly the same as this. So Thomas sees it as a giant online pub. I see it as a giant online sort of networking area, space. And I would never do anything on Twitter that I wouldn't do in real life. So in real life, I might know, or I've found out a little bit about you, I come over and I say, hi, how are you? So I've heard you like cakes from Nikki. What kind of cakes do you like? Or I've heard you like dancing, and we'd have a chat. But I'd chat to you as a real person. And I would do that the same on here. And I think the interesting bit that people forget is this: there's still people. There's someone here. And what we have to do is talk to the people as if they're real people. And if you talk to the people as if they're real people, they'll be interested in you as well. So Phil does some great services for small businesses. Phil actually runs my email and does all sorts of stuff for me as well. And what I recommend to Phil, if I was going to say anything, is I think Rob said it about The Apprentice. There's lots of people who want to start small businesses who watch The Apprentice. Lots of people interested in business. Go talk to everyone who's watching The Apprentice. Talk to them all, have a chat, get involved, and then they will go, who's this Phil guy talking? They'll click on your thing, they'll see your link, see what you do. The key is, and here's the key, is once you've got them started in conversation, they're going to check out your profile-y bit, and your bio is the bit where they'll go, is this interesting enough for me to click on their website or not? Is this interesting enough for me to want to find out more? So your bio is one of the key bits as to whether we want to talk to you more. It's got to be interesting. It's got to be cool. And if it's all business, there's little for me to connect on. If there's a bit of personality, a bit of other stuff, then that's actually what you can connect on. So I think for me, the biggest thing about Twitter is it's the most incredible and quick tool to find customers who might be interested in your product that you can talk to.
Can you do a geography search? Because if most businesses type in, if you just want to sell to housing, there's millions of housing associations around the country and you might be geographically tied. Can you put filters on it or not?
There is the advanced search where you can do that. I could do one better than that. Here's the way I would find local people. So quite often I run an event in a town. So let's say we're going to Weston-super-Mare. We'll do it for Guildford because we're actually in Guildford. So if we typed in Guildford, into the search, there's Guildford Biz, there's Guildford Speakers Club, there's Bertham Guildford, which is a Bertham Guildford account. Who do you think follows Bertham Guildford? Who doesn't care about Bertham Guildford?
Anyone outside of Bertham?
Yes, no one else cares about Bertham. I'm sorry if you live in Bertham. But I live in Basingstoke. I don't care about Bertham. My name is Ingrid Cold. I'm a resident of Bertham near Guildford, Surrey. I report on local news. She's got 2,000 followers. There's several thousand people in Bertham. So those followers are probably going to be people from Bertham. There is a list of people you can talk to who live in Bertham, if that's where you're marketing. So there is geographic ways to find people. The Surrey Advertiser will have a list of people who are in Surrey, who follow them. We actually found Weston-super-Mare Weather, which was a weather account dedicated to Weston-super-Mare. No one outside Weston-super-Mare cares about the weather in Weston-super-Mare. So that was a fantastic targeted list of people who live in the location, who will actually, you can just go talk to them. You can just literally, here's the list of people who live in Bertham. Here's Ollie, he swears in his thing, we'll miss him. There's a sales manager at Eagle Radio. We can follow her.
She's sitting in the other room.
Is she?
She's my boss.
Oh, there you go. She's your boss who sits in the other room. Excellent. Hi, we are talking about you. Kiss. Talk about a creepy message. Yeah. But we can actually go down here. There's a new radio show on Surrey Hills based by a radio guy there. These are local businesses. There's all sorts of people. Community editor at the Trinity Mail, Surrey Advertiser. These are all people who live in the local area that you can start to talk to. And you would not believe the network and the connections you can create. I can sit at home. I'll be fully dressed at this point, it's okay. I can sit at home on my computer and I can network with 50 or 100 people in 20 minutes. You try doing that at a networking event.
And is this best done then from a personal account rather, because we've only got a business account at the moment, so...
If you've got a business account...
More responsive if it's a personal...
People can be more responsive. What I do with my business account is when I have the little thing, it says at the bottom of my bio, tweets by Alan Donegan. So I try and put a human face on the business account to try and connect that.
Alan? Sorry, one
Dan.
other thing to find people. It's a silly name, but it's a great tool. It's called Follower Wonk. But you can search for people who've got like director in their bio or something in their bio or Surrey or wherever. Right? It's and you can sort them by authority and all sorts of stuff. I.e. how many followers they've got and all this kind of stuff. So
Yes.
It's, silly name, great tool.
Follower Wonk.
Follower Wonk.
And there's also the advanced search is quite useful in Twitter itself of drilling down to what's the words they've mentioned, so you can search by tweets. So let's say you were looking for people who've mentioned Guildford and yoga because you want to turn them to the dark side of Pilates. So you could search for Guildford and yoga, find people who've mentioned either of those words and start talking to them.
But when you say start talking to them, so I'm members of quite a lot of groups, but not Twitter, again, Facebook. And you know, there's mummy groups and blah, 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 blah. And I just, at the moment, I'm part of a conversation.
Cool.
Do you know a local builder? Blah, 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 blah. Do you know this? So, you know, information. So sharing information. So I think the worry is, then when do you go, right, I'm doing a workshop? You know, it's very hard to then, I like the idea of being part of the conversation, but when do you actually go, right?
Right.
Now I'm going to be honest who I am, reveal
Ooh,
myself.
that's
you know
interesting. Now I'm going to reveal myself as a salesperson.
Yes, because it's very hard if you are slightly salesy to go, right, wait for it. Okay, I've got an event in 2 weeks, wait for it. How do you say it without feeling like you're constantly saying to people? Because my problem is that I wouldn't say something to someone face to face that I might actually be very happy with putting at home.
I mean, you can use the company. My answer to that would be use the company profile to broadcast more sales messages, and then allow you to recommend or like that whenever you like. But you can have the company doing the push,
Yeah.
you can be doing the pull.
Can I ask you something? You're saying that you're using your business side to push out sales things. Do you actually get much response from the things that you're just churning out on your...
For our company we don't, but we just use it as profile building, so we link it to the website, and so when everyone goes to the website they see all the broadcasts where it's case studies, so anyone that hits the website actually it gets reaffirms our experience. So we never get a reply, but we're not doing best practice by the way, but we'll never get a reply saying, wow, you know, you've just blogged this, can you come and do this? But we know that people go to the website, they'll look at that and then go, yeah, they know what they're doing.
So,
Can I go back to your point earlier about, you know, you did the example of looking for Guildford or Bedford and Guildford and things. Are you, the people you're finding there, so that the village listing, are you following that, or are you able just to go in and, I don't know, have some sort of chat without following them, or
you can chat without following them, so you could just open the conversation that way. You could just follow them, and that's sometimes enough for some people to go, oh, I've been followed, who's that who followed me? Depending on how much they're into Twitter. I prefer to follow them and send them a message if I actually want to talk to them, because the message pops up on their phone and then they start to see it and you start to create the conversation.
Just a quick question on messaging. When you follow somebody and they auto message you back, auto DM back,
Yep.
which is through whatever device, I mean, how important do you view that as having that?
I ignore
Because I
every
tend to-
auto dim,
so do I.
every auto
It's like,
DM
oh,
back.
thanks for connecting, come and join me on Facebook.
Yeah.
I mean, wow.
Well, let's ask the people here. Do any of you pay attention to those auto direct messages when you followed someone? So pretty much people are going, no, I pay no attention to them.
I actually signed up to one of those, and somebody said to me, I used to follow your blog, but I hate these, and now I'm cutting you off. So I cut myself off the thing. It was those things, it was follow or something, like you've been followed by 4 people and I'm followed by 27 people or something, you know. So I thought, that's it, not having that anymore, it's nasty.
So I don't think they're very much value. I think it's, so what business does, okay, and here's what every clever business does. Every clever business goes, this takes time to talk to real people. How can I automate it? And my business partner at Pop-Up Business School, he does this. He goes, how can I automate this stuff? How can I make it faster? How can I make it work without me? Which is a clever thing to do. It's a logical thing to do. However, I believe that damages the individual relationships that you have. And actually, building your business, there's a guy called Gary Vaynerchuk. I don't know if you've ever heard of him. He's a very interesting chap. And one of his latest videos was about him putting videos out there for people who would just one person would watch it, or just 10 people would watch it, or just 100 people would watch it, just small numbers, because for him, his videos normally hit, I don't know, whatever it is, hundreds of thousands of views. But he said, I will do a video as long as it reaches one person and makes an impact in that person's life, that's enough for me. So he's building his brand one person at a time. And he's a very interesting example of actually, if you tweet him, given the fact he has 2 million followers, you quite often get a reply from him. And he will connect with people and talk to people. So for me, it's not about automating, especially, so it depends what the value of your contract is as well. So if you're going for contracts and you only need, I don't know, 10 contracts to keep you going for the entire year, then you want to contact those 10 people individually and create individual relationships. If you need 50,000 clients to keep you going a year, that's a lot more difficult to have 50,000 individual connections, and you're going to have to build that slower on this particular platform. But for me, it's all about talking to individuals, because the individuals buy your product, the individuals make the decision, and the individuals will support you in what you're doing.
Most business owners sort of find a middle ground in that, and they say, no, we agree with you, but I haven't got time to do that because I've got all this other stuff. I'll employ someone to do it on my behalf, and then they get involved in the conversation when it's qualified. So that's another way. I know it's probably not the most ideal, but it is a way of getting up and running, isn't it? You know, for me, I have got some...
solve the communication bit though? So if someone else had done it on your behalf and was talking about, let's say, the cake thing,
you don't know that conversation's been had. So when you go to meet them and they start talking to you about Kate, you're like, what the hell are you talking about?
Well, if it becomes a qualified sales lead, you then dig out the history to sort of get back. And some people, I know some people say they try to pretend that it was them, and other people say no, that was someone in the office. You know, I got involved, and they're very open about getting involved. You know, but they're very open about when they got involved in the conversation.
Yes.
But I know it's not ideal. Ideal is we spend all day doing this and nothing else.
Which is where we started exactly in the morning, was how do we save time on this? And for me, the saving time bit is about finding the right people quickly and just talking to the right people that could actually work with you. So it's all about finding the right people, whether it's small businesses. So tell us, what does your business do?
So I run a cleaning company. We've got about 300 customers, both commercial and domestic.
Who's your best customer?
We do county councils.
Cool. So would you like more councils?
Probably not. Our sweet spot is decision maker, no procurement process, no public sector, private sector decision maker, premium environment. So MD of a golf course where he can make the decision there and then. We're just about to win a school, but it's an academy, so
okay.
No procurement. You go straight through because our sales conversion is probably about 70%. So we're generating 500,000-600,000 turnover. So basically, we need to drive more sales lead, get the sales conversion down, and drive the wheels a bit harder than what we're doing.
Do you think you could bring the sales conversion parameters closer or shorten that cycle by having the conversation first? Have you tested that?
Of course.
So find the MD on Twitter
Yeah.
of that golf course, or the golf course manager.
Yeah.
Well, here's
Strike
an
up the
interesting one.
conversation.
Yeah, you strike up the conversation. Here's an interesting one. Top 100 golf courses of the world. I bet you some of them are in the UK. Some of them are probably somewhere around here, and I don't know what your geographical reach is. I'd find those golf courses and I'd start talking to the people who work for those golf courses via Twitter, and it's the easiest way to get in to talk to those people.
Breaks the ice.
Sorry?
Breaks the ice.
Golf course because they've got a
Breaks the ice.
2 rating for their kitchen.
So your key message just to run at home is do it yourself, get really targeted and do it yourself, all the 2 things you're saying.
And go direct to the people. Let's talk directly to the people who might actually buy our services and are interested in our services. Let's stop all the other stuff that takes up so much time and talk to the people who might actually buy. That would be my key advice. The best thing you can do is talk to the people who might actually buy. So I just want to give you, just before we finish up, because we've got a couple more minutes, the ways that I find people for different things, if that's okay. So I've got a couple of little bits here, which is going to pop up beautifully on my screen. Hey, finding local people. We've spoken a little bit about finding local people in terms of local accounts, newspapers, weather accounts, village accounts. There's always, if you just type in the word, you'll get that. There's all those there. You've also got the hashtags, which, they were saying about the Surrey chat or the chat hours. Those you can find people from the local area too, and that's quite a good way to find local people. So there's some great ways of finding local people if you're dealing in a geographical space. The other interesting method is what products do people buy that are related to yours? So let's say you were selling cookies, like the Social Media Summit cookies. What goes with cookies? Coffee. That was my first thought too. Coffee. So where do you find a list of people who drink coffee? Where can I find a list of geographically based people who drink coffee? Coffee shop. Coffee shop. There will be 150 people who follow the coffee shop in Bertham. There's a list of 150 people who like coffee and might like cookies. That would be one way to do it. Or what other products? The Ladies Who Latte networking group. Oh, that's interesting. Ladies Who Latte. They like latte. I bet you they might also like cake and coffee and cookies. So let's start talking to them. Maybe let's go to the person who runs the Ladies Who Latte in the local area and make friends with her and talk about having cookies at one of their meetings to show off what we do. I mean, there's a million ways to do it. But one of the thoughts is, what related products do people buy that are related to yours but not the same, that you can then go, and you can go to these cafes or you can go to these accounts and you can follow their followers. The list of people who follow them is all available to you. That's their list of customers. You can borrow that and talk to their customers. And it's a really easy way to do it. So related services to cleaning. Grounds maintenance. Who's the grounds maintenance firm that does all the top golf courses in the country? I would be going there and I'd be following everyone on that account and talking to everyone on that account. It's an incredible way in. So related products. You can find anyone on Twitter, which I think is really interesting. Anyone who's on Twitter, you can find them and talk to them. So if you know there's one person you'd really like to talk to, you can find them. And the other side of that is you can listen to anyone on Twitter. So I don't know what the words are that you would need, but you can search by words and find that. So I had a friend who was doing some work for a big hotel in London, and he was selling afternoon teas at this hotel. His job was to get people to book in afternoon teas. So all he did was set up a search for anyone who mentions afternoon tea. Then when that popped up, what do you think he said to them?
Enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
Did you enjoy it?
Did you enjoy the afternoon tea? He didn't go straight in with the sale saying, afternoon tea, I've got one! He didn't go straight in with the sale. He went to did you enjoy your afternoon tea? What was that hotel like? What was the best bit about it? Do you go out for afternoon tea regularly? Those sort of questions. And then people got interested in what he was saying, and that then linked back to his hotel and people started to book in. And you can directly track that, which is really fascinating to see the traffic and where it comes from. So that's how he did it. He also did another interesting piece, was he found afternoon tea people. There's actual accounts out there like the British Afternoon Tea Connoisseurs.
Secret Tea Society.
The Secret Tea Society, there's loads of them out there, and they will have followers who love doing that. What he did was invite the person with that Twitter account with 20,000 people following it to their place to have a free afternoon tea on them. Do you think they posted pictures of it?
Yeah.
Do you think they tweeted about it? Yes! They even wrote a blog post. And then all their 20,000 followers seen that they've gone to that place, they've had the afternoon tea, and that started to create an avalanche of sales after that one. So he used it quite cleverly to find those people that are doing it. So for me, Twitter is about listening to what's going on, and then when you hear the thing that is related, you can then just go and talk to the person. Talk to the person. Here's an interesting one. Conference crashing is my name for this. Conference crashing. What does every conference have nowadays? They have a hashtag. Here's a hashtag for this conference. There is bound to be a conference in your industry for what you do. There's bound to be an industry conference. For me, in the housing world, there is the National Housing Federation, and they have a housing association conference many times a year, but there's one big one with a hashtag. I can sit at home without paying to go to the conference and without going around and pressing the flesh with everyone. I can sit at home, and everyone who tweets with that hashtag, I can join the conversation and start talking to them and find all the people. So you can almost crash a conference and find the people that are related to your industry without even leaving your house. And I don't know what that is for your specific industry, but I'm guaranteed there will be a conference about your industry, because there's a conference about everything. And you can find the key people through that. So just search the hashtag on the days it's on, follow the conversation and start talking to people. And that's generated all sorts of contacts for me. And then the key bit is the specificity of this bit here. So this is the Pop-Up Business School one. At this point, I was promoting our next workshop in Telford. So I'm tweeting people in Telford. I'm expecting them to look at this, and then they go, oh, he's coming to Telford. And the link goes specifically to the page on my website that's related to my Telford event. Because I don't want them to go to my homepage, because if they go to my homepage, what might they do? They might go, what the hell is this? I don't know. So actually what you want to do is have the link specifically to the information on your website that's related to the people you're currently targeting on Twitter. So you change this. Let's say you're going for golf courses, you have a page for your golf course package, and you put that link there whilst you're talking to golf courses.
A lot of, I agree with you, but another school of thought that I've heard is drive people to a landing page. It can be a home page, it can be a landing page. But the one thing they recommend is have a strong call to action. You know, fill in this details to get your free form or free report, you know, a video, but usually that's more important than necessarily the specificity of the information that you've directed them to. So as long as, because we have a free report that you can download, but we don't have a video, for example, but I've heard that that's more important than having those pictures about golf courses, for example. You know, get them to fill in a form, get them to give you your email, watch a video.
What's your conversion rate on that report, on the sign-ups?
Yeah.
That's
what I'd be more interested in.
So the bit here is, let's say you had a look at someone's bio and then thought, oh, that's interesting, and then clicked on it, and it took you to their homepage and it said, download our free report. Sometimes we do it if we're interested, sometimes we don't. If you went to that page and that page felt like it was specifically designed for you, because it's about the top problems that golf course faces in keeping their image, or whatever it is, that'd be like, oh, that's a bit more interesting for me as a golf course owner. So I agree. I think we're saying the same message, is it should be really targeted, and it should have a call to action, and it should have something there. Definitely. But for me, the more specific you are for the type of person you're going for, and that takes them to the page that's relevant to them, they're more likely to be interested and contact you. So if you're targeting golf courses, send them to a landing page with a video and a download my report about golf courses. If you're targeting housing associations, take them to a housing association page. If you're targeting small businesses, take them to your small business page, whatever it is. Are we going to get the sign that they're opening the door? I love that. There's not even a 1 minute left. It's just open the door.
I just wanted to ask something. You said right at the beginning, you said while Twitter is still free, is it going to be taken over by Google, and we'll have to buy Google computers to do Twitter? What did you intimate by that?
Things change.
Because I love Twitter so much, but I'm thinking.
I don't see it changing within the next couple of years. But life happens and things change, and I can't predict the future. The best person to ask that question to is Thomas, because, well, he was telling me before we started that he was 5 years ahead of everyone else, because his Academy started 5 years in front of LinkedIn, and he's now thinking 2020. So he'd be the best person for that question. At the moment, I see Twitter continuing, but I wouldn't hang my hat that there are not changes, because there are changes all the time. There are changes all the time. Nikki's giving me a wrap-up signal. It's been really fun. I'm here all day to answer any of your questions, and I would love to help you with any of this. It's been fabulous talking to you, and thank you very much.